there's a special class of externalities that I would like to discuss, and these are called positional externalities. The concept is related to a topic that was covered in Macroeconomics 1, the so-called SNAP effect of consumption. You can read back about it in Besanko and Broughton chapter 5. Let me start with an example. Here there's swimmer, so let's focus on this swimmer here at the bottom of the picture. What externality is he imposing on the other swimmers here? And usually if I ask this question I get many different answers, because there are more types of externalities that this person is exposing to other swimmers. One is that of so-called peer effects. Peer effects is a topic that is studied a lot in economics. It basically means that your behavior is affected by behavior of the others in your environment. Well, in this case, it can mean that this person here at the bottom, who is sort of leading the pack, has a positive effect on the performance of the other swimmers, because they swim faster if they have a very good competitor, right? So that's one type of externality. Another one is, and there's also research on this topic, is that it may be that in his wake, the other swimmers, especially the swimmer next to him, has more or less difficulty swimming, because you create a wake. And who knows, in Olympic swimming pools the effect is limited, but it may have an effect, and the effect may actually also be positive. Now those are externalities that are very interesting, but the externality that I'm after here is holds for any competitive sports, namely that your win is my loss. That's a positional externality. So that's the cost that you impose on others as a result of your efforts to improve your relative position. If utility of participants depends on relative position. Obviously, the latter part is also important, because if the other swimmers wouldn't care about winning or no, in line with the true Olympic ideal, then it still wouldn't matter. But obviously, in the swimming contest, everybody wants to win. So yeah, if the swimmer at the bottom of the picture wins, that is really too bad for the other swimmers, because they are not going to end up at position 1, but at 2, 3, or even lower. The presence of such positional externalities have effect on our behavior also outside of the swimming pool, the behavior of those swimmers, because they know that the other swimmers are doing their utmost best to win, so they start preparing for the race, even more training, or those fast swimming suits, which have now been prohibited actually, but they take lots of food supplements, they go to bed early, etc. So this is what we call an arms race, a series of mutually offsetting investments in performance enhancements that is stimulated by a positional externality, i.e. Those are all things that you do that are completely pointless, unless you are into winning this contest, right? So, and why does it say mutually offsetting? Because if I do it, if I take all those proteins and go to bed early, and it's an extra training session at high altitude, whatever, and the other one does it too, then we're at the same position again, right? And that's exactly what happens in sports. It gets crazier and crazier. Because of this positional externality. So in sports, it can be that you basically give up your complete life, but then still end up third. Okay, how about this one? What's the positional externality from piercings? Think about it. What can it be? Well, I'll tell you. At least my take on this guy, who's actually German, and it seems to be like a German thing to sort of overdo those things. But anyhow, I guess in the group of friends that he was with, one guy or a lady once started with one piercing, and then one friend, didn't want to stay behind, so she took two piercings, and then this guy was like, well, I'm absolutely want to be leading the pack, so I take 20 piercings, right? So and I think that's exactly what's going on. Trying to be as alternative as humanly possible. You see it everywhere. Once you sort of know the concept, then you see it in status symbols like watches or bags. There's only one person who can have the most posh bag, right? So we spend plowing more and more money into things that are very visible to others, like those bags and watches. But again, if everybody has a Louis Vuitton bag, then you're at the same position again, right? So again, this leads to a positional arms race. And obviously it only works if the others, it's only an externality actually, that's what I would like to say. It's only an externality if the others actually also care about being, about those status symbols. And there's a broader point here. There's a very important point about the effect of wealth on well-being. Namely that if we spend a lot of our extra money that we make after making sure we've got a home, we've got food and all that, shelter, and if you then start spending more and more money on those status goods, so not getting a Fiat 500 but a Bentley, then it may be that our well-being doesn't really go up, because if it's all about your relative position, then if the whole street has a Bentley, like in certain places in the Netherlands, then you still feel miserable, right? So it doesn't really improve anything, because you still get from A to B, but not in the most luxurious car, because everybody has this car already. Now, as I said here, so once you know the concept, you see it everywhere. So if you're walking around in the forest, for instance, and you see the canopy, the forest canopy, how can this be an example of positional externality? Well, think about it. Say that you're a tree, I'm a tree, and there's competition for sunlight. Then this is also a so-called zero-sum game, as economists call it. Namely, that if we are right next to each other, all the sunlight that I catch with my canopy does not go to you. So what happens is that trees try to outgrow each other, right? Whereas if trees could agree on, why don't we stay nice and low, don't put all these efforts into growing this high, they would all be better off, right?